That's part of the barter. And my concern for you is you're not seeing it as your choice.
Sorry?
You're not seeing it as your choice. You're seeing it as other... A lot of people with cancer have this problem, Andrew, where they always see their cancer as externally caused. Do you follow me? An adult cancer is never externally caused. It has external influences, so spirits in particular, but it's not externally caused. You follow?
Yeah.
It's always caused by something that's out of harmony with love of yourself or someone else inside of yourself. It's not externally to yourself. In fact, the person who gets cancer has the problem, not the people around them. Do you follow me? So when Anne died, she was the one with the problem. She was trying to blame you for it, of course, which is partly what cancer victims do. They try to blame other people for their cancer. But the reality is she is totally responsible for the creation of cancer inside of her own body. Her body is connected to her soul. Her soul and her body are interacting with each other. It's the soul's emotions that caused her cancer. The same applies to you. It's nobody else's emotions causes your cancer.
Yeah.
And this is the thing you've got to come to accept, that if you're going to cure it, you have to first take responsibility that there has to be some emotion out of harmony with love inside of yourself that causes it. You follow?
Yeah.
And it's got to be related to the demand upon others and your willingness to comply to get that demand met. So it's a codependent addiction that you have with other people, wanting women, and I'm talking women here in particular, wanting women to meet your addiction. And you're so bound up in getting them to meet your addiction that you'll do anything for them, of course, just in order to get the addiction met. But the angry demand coming out of you is not being recognised yet. And by recognised, I mean by being felt by you. So when you get angry, what are you getting angry about? Are you getting angry about how women treat you? Or are you getting angry about your demands that you have towards women? Or are you just getting angry about the fact that you have cancer?
I'm getting angry about the demands. Or like, if it's not the cancer, I've had moments where I've been, looking at self and thinking I'm, feeling sad. But no, it's not really. I accept that the cancer is coming from inside me. And
I can't agree with that.
No?
No. You intellectually accept that. I agree.
All right.
But emotionally?
Not?
No.
Okay.
No. And that's what I'm asking you to feel.
Right.
Why you don't emotionally accept it yet. And this is the problem, is that you've had a life now of many, many years of suppressing emotion. So a lot of the emotion that you have inside of yourself, you don't even recognise yourself.
What's up or down or true? Or...
Correct. You don't know. And then you've also had a lot of manipulation by women in particular. And so it's so easy for a woman to convince you that your emotion that you think you're feeling is actually something else.
Right.
Does that make sense? And they've caused you to distance yourself. Your mother caused you to distance yourself from yourself emotionally. So you've lived in your head a lot.
Yeah.
Right? Intellectually analysing everything.
Analytical.
Yes.
To the point of destruction,
yeah. Yeah. In fact, you'd go over, and that's partly what made you feel crazy sometimes, right? You were going over and over in your head everything all the time without feeling about it. Right?
Yeah.
And this is the problem that you've had, because and it's all about suppression of emotion. You follow?
Yeah.
So this is the problem you will face. The problem you will face in addressing the cancer is allowing yourself to get to an emotional place where you recognise the demand that you have towards women. Do you follow?
Right.
Feeling it emotionally, actually feeling the demand that's coming out of you towards them, and feeling what you're willing to do to get it.
Yeah.
You follow? Because there's quite a lot you're willing to do to get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that, sometimes I put a facade on, I suppose, when a woman comes into my presence, and I have a certain format that I
do
to,
yep.
And that's part of the facade.
That's part of the facade. That's
And I'm not
preventing
even
you
getting
from feeling the anger in you
the hurt
and the hurt.
self.
Yeah.
That stops me, the facade.
Yeah, the facade is stopping you from feeling some of this blocked emotion that you have, right? Which is the blockages towards feeling the underlying grief. So you've got 2 layers of emotions going on, really. There's one layer above, which is the blocking emotion. The blocking emotions are all of your belief systems that are out of harmony with love associated with women. So they include things like, the woman has to nurture me. The woman's role is to nurture me. The woman has to comfort me when I feel down. The woman has to make my sadness go away. She's got to make me feel sexually desirable, and so forth and so forth. These are projections you have at women. And by the way, women don't have to do any of those things. But you believe they do. And you need to feel those beliefs, not just think them. You follow? If you don't feel those beliefs, you will never get to the underlying feeling which caused those beliefs. And the underlying feeling that caused those beliefs is a deep sadness in your relationship with your mother that you're yet to feel about at all. You follow? That's the underlying cause of those belief systems. Your desire to not feel your deep sadness with your mother is causing the belief systems that women should do a number of things for you to make this sadness go away. You follow? Then there's the additional side-based influence, which is your openness to spirits influencing you, and in particular women's spirits. And the reason why you're open to women's spirits is because, 1, you're open to women generally, and 2, you have a belief that anybody who can communicate with spirits is in a better condition than somebody who can't. Right? And that's not true. So you need to feel about that belief too. Why do you believe that somebody who demonstrates some magical qualities of being able to communicate with spirits is all of a sudden in a better condition? There's got to be reasons in your life that caused you to believe that.
The dismantling of those beliefs, that's the starting point.
That's the starting point. Now, to dismantle any belief, you have to feel it. Right? Yeah. One of the reasons why you want spirits to tell you what to do, and one of the reasons why you want women to tell you what to do, is because you don't want to take responsibility for making the decisions yourself.
Right.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
So that's an underlying feeling. But all I'm trying to do here now is give you some ideas of where you're going to go. But you're going to have to feel the emotion as to why you want women to make these decisions for you. And part of those emotions are going to be, what happens when you make a mistake with a decision? And if you go way, way back into your childhood, if you made a mistake in a decision that your mother noticed, how would she treat you?
In a hostile manner.
Angry and hostile, right? And verging on violence, really, and particularly emotional violence.
Without physical.
Without being physical about it, which was probably worse for you. You probably would have rather someone just belt you and forget about it than someone who just constantly torture you about it emotionally, right? That's one of the things you're afraid of. You don't...
To make her unhappy.
Yeah. Not to make her unhappy, but her, when she's unhappy, what she will do with that is what you're afraid of.
I wouldn't even get to that. I'd stop her from being unhappy.
Correct.
So I wasn't even touching the...
What happens if she's not happy?
Yeah.
It's correct. You follow?
I haven't even touched her.
You haven't even got there yet. Yeah. And this is the problem that you face, is that dealing with cancers requires feeling your anger and rage, which are a lot of your blocking emotions, the emotions that stop you from feeling the real grief that's there, feeling your demands, feeling them and not engaging them anymore.
Watching myself. I have been watching myself, and a few of the people come up and they tell me what I'm doing, and I think, true. But they laugh at the... I have a repertoire that sort of makes them feel good.
And so they enjoy it. And so
but they acknowledge that, but like to verbalise it out loud is very good for me to have a look now.
Of course.
Because they're a true friend in the sense that they're watching.
Yeah, see, I don't see those people as being true friends. The reason why I don't is because if a person knows what you're doing with them in order to feed one of your own addictions, then they themselves, if they allow that to continue, are complicit. And if they laugh about it, they're definitely complicit.
Right.
So I would see that as, well, somebody's being complicit there in that. They don't mind that you do it. Right? And what I'm suggesting to you is someone who loves you would actually mind that you do it.
Yeah.
You follow me? If they truly loved you, they would go, no, this is killing you, mate.
Yeah.
You know, this is not good. It's not something we can laugh about. It's actually quite dangerous what you're doing to your own health. So,
absolute truth.
So I feel that people come up and tell you truths in a way that they're relaxed about it and okay about it all. They're not really caring for you or loving you yet. They're basically telling you that they know something about you that they really still want you to continue. And if they really loved you, they wouldn't want you to continue it. And they wouldn't want to get it from you.
Yeah.
If they really loved you. Do you follow? So, you know, my feelings are if people do that with you, then yeah, it's a demonstration actually there's not as much love there as you might think. But I feel that you want to believe women love you. So even when they point out something that you do in a relaxed manner, you feel that's them acknowledging things and you feel that's good, but I feel that's actually worse. If they know it's happening and they're not doing anything about it personally, then they're complicit in your behaviour. So that's actually worse than not knowing. That's knowing and enjoying. It's like me, if I knew that I could manipulate you by doing something, right, and making you feel a certain thing, and I chose to do it, that's worse than me doing it without knowing. A lot of women like this with you.
Yeah.
They even know what you do. And they like it.
Yeah, well, I've come away from when I used to sexually project. I don't do that now, but I used to use that as a tool to do it. Where now I feel that I'm not doing that. It's
I don't know if I could agree with that statement either.
no, I still.
There's a feeling in you that you'll almost do anything when the situation is right to get those feelings from women. So you're selective now in to whom you sexually project. And so you sexually project at your wife, for example, but you're still not seeing that is because you want something in return.
Right.
So while you might not sexually project at every woman you meet like you might have done before, or every attractive woman you meet is probably a better definition of what you would do before, you certainly are still willing to sexually project at your wife in order to get what's in return. There's a pure sexual projection, which is a feeling of sexual desire for the person without a feeling of needing the desire to be reciprocated or to be acted upon by that person. Does that make sense? Now that's a pure sexual feeling for the person. An impure sexual feeling for the person is when you have a sexual projection going towards the person of sexual desire or longing, but it's all about getting something in return from them, feeling of nurturing or feeling like you're comforted by that feeling. Do you follow? And that's what you're doing.
Right.
So
when the need arises, I still do,
yeah. So it's not a pure longing of sexual, it's not a pure sexual desire coming out of you towards your wife, for example, because if it was pure, it would not require anything in return. And it's impure because you have this underlying demand established with your mother that you get something in return. And while now you're not, you're wanting comfort, and you still want the comfort emotion, you still want the nurture emotion, you still want the emotional engagement, you still want from them to make your sadness go away. You want things from them.
Mm.
Do you follow?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so while you may not sexually project at every woman now, or most women, you still do use sexual projection as a way to get what you want from women.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Mm.
So you've got to be careful, sometimes, because a pure sexual relationship is where I have desire for my girl, so I have desire for Mary. She's in this other room, that's why I look that side. Hello, baby. And I have a desire for her without expecting anything from her.
Mm.
So I don't have the need, as you called it earlier, just 5 minutes earlier, to engage sexually with her, even though I have a sexual longing for her. So we can go without sex for many months, right? It's very dependent upon what I feel from her in return as to whether we will engage.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's not. I'm not going to engage it or project that at her just so that she can comfort me or make me feel good about myself or any of those kind of things.
Mm.
You follow?
I understand.
Yeah. This is what I'm trying to get at with you, is that there is a huge demand towards women that is causing your cancer. And it's an anger demand, an angry-based demand.
All right.
And the angry-based demand is they should always make your sadness go away. They should make you feel comfort. They should make you feel nurtured, make you feel comfortable, make you feel good about yourself, and they have to do it. And this is about covering over the sadness, not the worth inside of you. You think it's worth, but if it was worth, it would be in your bowel, the cancer.
All right.
But it's not, it's in your chest.
Yeah.
And your chest is a lot about sadness, not worth. Do you follow me? So this is about sadness, not worth. If you had bowel cancer, then it would be about worth.
Yeah.
It's not about worth. Your worth is actually quite good in comparison with your sadness. In fact, you believe that they should do a whole heap of things for you.
Yeah.
And you're sad about it, about things with women that you were unwilling to address, and you use this bartering situation with women to cover over the sadness so you don't have to cry.
Right. Mm.
That makes sense? Now, if you had an issue with worth, then you would have bowel cancer most probably. And that would all be about your worth. You're getting worth from projecting things at women. You desperately want them to make you feel better about yourself. That's not what I'm suggesting here. What I'm suggesting is you desperately want the woman to make your sadness go away.
Mm.
That's what you want from them. You follow?
Yeah.
You want, and it's your sadness about love that you want to go away.
Mm.
So you're actually very sad about love with the opposite gender. And you want the woman to make that sadness go away. So this is not about your worth, it's about your sadness. Your sadness is there, and your worth's there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not about your sexual worth even, because that would be prostate cancer then.
Yeah.
Can you see the difference?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is specifically about your sadness about love.
Yeah.
You feel that?
I do.
Yeah. And with women, you've got this sadness about love with women. You feel like if you look back and reflect upon your relationship with Anne, which is the attraction, your relationship with Anne was you felt yourself to be love with her. You now feel that she didn't love you. And you feel like you gave her 25, 27 years of your life and she just manipulated you the whole time. This is how you feel.
I wasted all that time.
Yeah, that's part of your feeling of sadness. You follow? Yeah. That's your causal emotion.
Yeah.
Then you've got a whole series of blockages. The blockages are related to the emotions related to the demands you have. I don't want to have to feel that sadness. I don't want to have to feel this sadness that I have about love. What I want to do instead is I want to actually get the woman to love me so that I don't have to feel all that. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. I've reflected a little bit, and I've never been without a partner for a long time.
No.
I've always managed to,
Yeah.
well, managed, that's a justification, isn't it? It's always happened that I've always been
It would have always happened, yeah, because of the huge desire you have to have the woman cover over your sadness. If you were alone for any period of time, your sadness would have been exposed. You follow? And your sadness about love would have been exposed then. And so you have a desperate need to always have a relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, by the way, a lot of people have, right? The difference is for you is that you've got an anger-based projection that you're willing to do almost anything to get this sadness covered over, to get it suppressed.
Yeah.
Rather than just cry about it. Now, if you let yourself feel the sadness about love that you have, that's the causal emotion, right? That you're avoiding. That's not causing you cancer, though. That's the actual causal emotion you're avoiding, which is sadness about love, right? It's the avoidance of the causal emotion and what you do in your avoidance that's causing your cancer. Do you follow me? Do you see the distinction? One is the actual emotion itself, which is this grief about love, and the other is the justifications you have to get that emotion avoided, to avoid it, to not confront it, to not feel it. Cancer is caused not by you having the emotion, but by you avoiding the emotion and using unloving techniques to avoid it. You follow? That's what causes the cancer. It's the use of unloving techniques to avoid that causes cancer, not the actual emotion you're avoiding.
Right. It's about not being truthful to the emotion.
Well, that's part of it. There's a whole, like I say, there's reasons why you don't want to feel the grief. So in a discussion with myself, you'll start to touch the grief. But in normal day-to-day life, and particularly when you're with women, you don't touch that grief at all. And you do a whole heap of things to avoid that grief. And it's the unloving things you do to avoid the grief that cause your cancer. You follow? Yeah. Just like if I had bowel cancer, it's the unloving things I do to avoid my worth that would cause my bowel cancer. If I had prostate cancer, it's the unloving things I do to avoid my sexual worth. That causes my prostate cancer. If I have lung cancer, it's the unloving things I do to avoid my sadness with men or women, or both, that cause my cancer. Not the actual feeling of grief that's in there, but rather the unloving things I do to avoid the grief.
Right.
Do you see the distinction? Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the unloving things you do to avoid your grief about love that you need to address. And what I'm suggesting is you have those unloving feelings are the blockages to you feeling the grief. And those unloving feelings include, I should get what I want from women. Women should make me feel comfortable. They should make me feel good. They should make me feel desirable. All of these things help me avoid my grief. Do you follow? So that's what they have to do. They have to do those things to make me avoid my grief.
So as soon as I find myself with those expectations, remove myself and just look and...
Well, no, what you need to do is feel the expectations as a demand coming out of you. Feel it. So looking at it intellectually doesn't get you anywhere. You need to feel the anger you have about, no, I should get this. And feel why you have that anger. What belief inside of you causes you to have this anger? What belief do you have that causes you to believe that you should get these things from women? That's the problem. It's the belief, the false belief that's unloving, that's causing your cancer. That's the thing you need to get rid of. Do you follow? And it needs to come out of you emotionally, because it's an emotionally in there.
Yeah.
You know, it's not an intellectual thought you're having. It's driving every part of your behaviour with women. So it's not even an intellectual thought. It's just an emotion that causes you, as soon as you're with a woman, bang, you're in there. Do you follow? With that unloving demand.
Yeah.
And you'll do things and pander to them, and you know, you'll even accept that you're worth less than them and everything in order to get it. As you said earlier, you learnt that that was how you could manipulate your mother. And this is now how you're manipulating women. You follow?
Yeah.
And it's the manipulation of them that's causing the cancer. It's not the actual grief associated with love. That's the underlying harm that you have to feel. But it's the covering over of that grief which causes your cancer through rage or anger. Follow?
Yeah.
And it's the angry demands you need to feel. So I hope I'm making myself clear there.
Yeah,
you know? It's like there's a distinction that most people don't get when it comes to dealing with their emotions. They don't get the distinction between the blocking emotion, which is the anger-based emotions that you need to release, you know, the addictive emotions you need to release, the reasons why you justify to yourself why this conduct is okay. So for 27 years with Anne, you justified that pandering to her, doing whatever she wanted, agreeing with her all the time, was a good enough reason to do. You did all of those things so that you got some things from her.
Yeah.
And the things you wanted from her were that she helps you overcome your grief with women, your sadness about love.
Yeah, I know we've gone around in circles, but you keep on. It's good. It's good for me because I'm getting the concept. It's not the emotion of sadness that I have with love.
That's causing the cancer.
Causing the cancer. It's
Correct.
my barriers that I put up around that I'm not willing to. They're so ingrained in my nature that I don't even know that I'm doing it to a degree, I suppose. And
Correct.
I need to address when I start that, and address it not intellectually, but emotionally feel why this is going on.
Correct.
Why do I want this response from that person?
But we need to be even more specific. You don't just want it. You angrily want it.
Demand it.
You demand it.
Yeah.
Do you see the difference? Like, it's one thing for me to desire something, quite another for me to angrily demand something.
Yeah.
Do you see the difference? It's like one is based almost on a hope, that you hope you have it, but if you don't get it, well, that's fine. Right?
Yeah,
that's not how you feel. When it comes to women in this projection, if you don't get it, you just feel like, you know, you do feel like being angry with them. You do, and you realise you can't be, because if you are, then you don't get it. It's a vicious cycle, right?
Yeah.
But the reality is you are angry with them internally. And this is what I'm saying, you need to see it as it really is. So that's why we're going over it and over it, because I can feel that there's still this unwillingness in you to see the anger in it. You don't see how angry it is. Do you follow?
Yeah.
You still want to tell yourself that, oh, it's not, I'm not so angry, and there's a reason why, because you judge anger a lot. I don't judge it. Like, I feel anger is a great path to healing. That's why I've said anger is your guide. You know, we had a whole 4-hour seminar about that. Anger is your guide here, certainly.
Yeah.
You're not going to see what you do unless you start feeling some of this anger that you have about the issue itself. You follow? Yeah. And that's why we're going over it. I'm trying to explain it to you so you can see the distinction between the emotion that you're trying to cover over, which is not causing your cancer,
Right.
and the attempt to cover over the emotion, which is causing your cancer.
And
You see the difference?
yeah.
Right? If you just had this other emotion and decided not to feel it, but had no angry projection coming out of you, like I said to you, you'd probably get pneumonia or heart disease instead. Do you follow?
Yeah.
But no, you have the angry emotion coming out of you instead, which is causing this demanded emotion towards women, which is causing the cancer. Do you follow me? That's the one that's covering over the grief about love. That's why you can't easily connect to the grief about love, because you actually believe you shouldn't have to. Some woman should come along and make it all go away.
Yeah.
Right?
I can see that.
Yeah. And that's why you've very rarely been without a woman all your life. Whether it's mum or, girlfriend or wife or whatever.
Yeah.
Because it's such a panic for you to be alone. Because if you're alone, you don't get this feeling from women.
And it probably would have been the best thing for me.
Possibly, yeah. But not while you continue to have the projection. Of course, sooner or later you're going to attract a woman who will satisfy the projection. You see, most relationships are codependent. A woman who wants to satisfy your projection also wants control over a man, and she looks at you and she goes, wow, you're attractive because I can control you, I can domineer you while you have that emotion. Does that make sense? So a woman's going to be attracted to be with you in order to domineer you or to take control of your life. Right?
Yeah.
She's going to like that. It makes her feel like she doesn't have to be vulnerable. She doesn't have to be frightened. She doesn't have to be scared. She's got control of everything. She doesn't have to give her heart either, by the way. You give yours to her, right? So you feel. But even that is because you demand some things in return. You demand nurturing, comfort, all the things that will make your sadness with love go away, so you don't have to feel it. And it's the action of wanting those things that cause your cancer, not the underlying sadness with love that's causing your cancer. The underlying sadness with love is the emotion you'll get to eventually and feel through. Right? That'll heal you from this relationship problem, but it won't heal you from your cancer. Right? What will heal you from your cancer is feeling your demands, your expectations, why you want women to do this. That's what's going to heal you from your cancer. Right? And this desire or wanting of women to do this is also causing spirit attractions of women who have cancer to you,
right,
who then can also influence your body. Follow? Yeah. So that's the secondary cause of your issue, but not the primary. The primary is your own desire to suppress and the desire to want somebody else to do it for you instead of you doing it yourself. You don't want to be alone and feel your sadness. You want to be with a woman so you don't have to.
Yeah.
Yep. You can see the distinction.
Yeah.
Yep.
It gives me something to work with.
Yeah, yeah. And by the way, whether you pass or not, this problem is going to still exist.
Yep.
In the spirit world, you will attract a woman who want to domineer and control you, and you want to give them things still, and the whole dynamic will still exist, whether you pass or don't, with this problem. You're better off dealing with the problem no matter how sick you are. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No matter how sick you get, you want to deal with this problem.
This is whether I'm here or on the other
Whether
side.
you're here or there, the reality is you'll still be attracted to these kind of relationships.
Yeah.
And in fact, possibly would choose women on earth who are willing to enter those relationships with you when you're in a spirit form.
That would be sad.
Yeah, it would be, because that will cause them cancer.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So, this is what's happened to you with Anne.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's in a dark condition, Andrew. Anne is.
Yeah, well, it's... I've never felt her presence for a long time, but I felt influenced by...
I feel you're not aware enough to feel a woman's presence, except where the woman will give you the emotion you want, and she's certainly unwilling to do so now. What she wants to do, Anne wants to do to you now, is just hurt you. That's all she wants to do to you, and you're not very willing to feel those kind of women because that's the emotion you're suppressing about love. Do you follow me? So you're suppressing sadness with women about love, sadness about love. When a woman's angry with you, it triggers this sadness about love that you have. So you don't want to feel that. So you're pretty numb to women who are doing that. So you're very numb to anybody who's angry, a woman who's angry.
Yeah.
You're pretty numb to it. You don't really even notice them so much, really.
True.
Do you know what I mean? You call it a strong woman. You almost admire it.
I just stand back and
let them do their thing.
Yeah.
But you're not sensitive to it, is what I suggest.
Sensitive, no.
When a person's sensitive, you can feel around you who's with you and what their real desires are, right? And you can't do that with women.
No.
Because you're only interested in what your desires are with women and what you're going to have to do to them to get what you want in return.
Right.
You follow?
Yeah.
And this is very confronting for you emotionally to see, because the reality is you've always believed yourself to be a man who's always good to women.
Yeah, always.
But you're not examining the reason why you're always good to women.
The barter.
Yeah. So perhaps if we can summarise,
Right.
the cancer is not caused by the causal emotion, which is, when I say causal emotion, the underlying emotion of grief associated with love with women. That's not the cause of the cancer, but that is the trigger for the suppression. In other words, you have that emotion and you're trying to suppress it.
Yeah.
And the attempt to suppress it, in the attempt to suppress that grief, you are attempting to use women to suppress the grief. You need women around you to help you suppress this grief inside of you.
Yeah.
That unloving projection at women is causing you cancer. And you feel that you should be able to demand that from them. And it's the angry demand, this unloving, angry demand, that causes this cancer. And then the secondary issue is that you are very open to spirit influence. And the reason why you are is because you have a belief that anyone who can speak with spirits is in a more developed state than a person who's not. And this causes you to feel like you wish to be open to speaking to spirits in an effort to prove that you're in a better state than you believe yourself to be, right? And that allows you openness to women projections from the spirit world to actually harm your body as well. Right?
Yeah.
It's also the reason why you spent 27 years with Anne. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I spent 5 minutes with a woman like Anne, that'd be enough.
Yeah. Well, I'm sad now because I feel like most of my life is consumed in that relationship.
Well, yeah, but you know, you have to have a compassion for that, because the reality is your mum groomed you for that. So sure, have the sadness about it, but there is really some anger that you're going to have to feel with mum as well at some point, that she...
How did I become that way?
Yeah, she groomed you to become that man. And she groomed you even into this behaviour you have now. Of course, you've had 56 years to address the behaviour, and you've avoided addressing it because you've avoided your sadness and you wanted a method to do so. But the reality is you've had a fairly, what I would classify as almost a brainwashed condition before you began.
True.
With women.
Yeah.
Otherwise you would never have accepted a 27-year relationship with a woman who felt she was superior to you.
I always justified it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And I'm just thinking too that my friend Igor has the same problem as yourself. Something for you to bear in mind, my friend. Yeah. It's an issue, it's an issue that many men face, where they have emotionally incestuous relationships set up with their mothers. And then to avoid the pain or the sadness of those particular relationships generate inside of themselves, they enter an emotionally incestuous relationship with a partner who has to fulfill those needs. Does that make sense?
Mm.
And the role of the partner, the sexual and other role of the partner, is to give them comfort, nurturing, look after them, and in particular care for them sexually and physically.
Mm.
You know, that are the roles that the woman, it's imposed upon the woman to fulfill. And those projections, when they're angrily expressed in suppression of the sadness, can cause cancer. That's the underlying causes. So it's not, you know, and I want to reiterate this, it's not the actual emotion of sadness that's causing the cancer, it's the suppression or the way in which you're suppressing
the covers
the emotion of sadness.
Avoidance.
Yeah.
Yes. And not intellectually approach them, but emotionally feel them.
Yes. See, well, I've got the same level of sadness, or probably more intense level of sadness that I have about love with women and men in my life, in my chest, right? Even right now, I've got some in my left side that I'm feeling pretty much every day. The difference between myself and you, though, is I don't project at the woman that she's got to make it go away.
Mm.
So I'm more prone to something like heart disease or like pneumonia than I am, which I've had 3 times in my life, pneumonia, than I am towards getting cancer in my chest. Do you follow me?
Mm. Yeah.
So it's important to make the distinction. Yeah. And what we do when we have these sessions about health, you know, we'll be talking about some about cancer. My suggestion is to have a listen to them, you know.
I would love to.
Yeah.
Is there a chance of having a recording of it? Or?
Well, we have them all on YouTube and stuff.
Yeah,
and we can put them up, we'll put them on a disc, but we'll probably be recording them over the coming few months and slowly getting them up, in amongst a lot of other important things we want to do as well. But we feel a lot of people have this, you know, quite a few people have contacted us recently who have cancer, who wanted to have a discussion. And in each case, in some cases, we feel the person not even ready for the discussion. And you know, in my own case with yourself, I've been feeling, is he ready yet? Is he ready yet?
You know,
Does that make sense?
I'll tell you, I rang up and I spoke to Mary as a last resort. I didn't want to. I felt it was imposing on, you know, but I did it. And
well, I feel that was more of an expression of your true desire to get some feedback, whereas I feel some of the emails were more of a, like, this is what I notice about many people with cancer. Now that they have a life-threatening illness, they want some answers. But they didn't want the answers before then.
Yeah.
And my feelings are, when I gave you some time previously, you didn't want the answers. So why should I give my time to you now that you do want the answers?
Yeah.
Can you see too that if you'd thought about some of the things that I'd said 3 or 4 years ago, you may not have cancer now?
True.
Right? So what I've got to do when I feel somebody wanting some of my time is I go, well, now I've tried to give that person time in the past and they haven't wanted the answers, and now they only want the answer because they feel their life is threatened. And to be honest with you, Andrew, I don't feel any threat to your life. And the reason why I don't feel any threat to your life is because whether you pass or not, you're still alive.
Yeah.
So to me, the consideration of somebody passing or not passing is not a consideration as to why I give them feedback. Do you follow? I give them feedback because I feel that they might be emotionally open to it.
Well, what happened was after the phone call, I let it out.
Yeah.
I had a lot of needy...
That's what I felt from you. A lot of needy anger almost.
Yeah. And I just went and
let it all out.
You know, I hope you didn't feel it, but I bashed my.
Well, no, I felt all the stuff before then.
But then when I let it out, and then I just booked a ticket to Thailand, and I said, look, we better go before it's too late.
Yeah.
And we only made it a week and a half before it to come back.
Yeah.
But
I feel that you letting go of that projection at me is what caused me to say, yes, Andrew, I think we'll have the meeting.
Yeah.
Do you follow me?
Yeah, I feel
And
that.
the reason why was before then, I felt quite a strong demand from you that we have the meeting. And the demand was coming from a place going, don't you realise I'm sick? Don't you realise that you've got to help me get better now? And yet the reality is, like, my feelings are, no, you had opportunities to listen before, but you didn't take them. And why should I now spend my time just because you believe your life is threatened? I don't believe your life is threatened.
But the release, freed, and the next thing, I see an email.
Correct. The release is what lets you go through the process of getting rid of the reason why you've got all these demands at people. What I've noticed is that every single person with anger has with cancer, has a large amount of demands towards others, whether those people know them or not. And in fact, if you think about it, most people with cancer who pass with a lot of people needing to care for them just before they pass. And there's a reason why that illness creates that demand. Whereas something like a brain tumour, most people pass very, very rapidly. And the reason why is because they don't want anybody to look after them or care for them. Right? Whereas a person with cancer has the underlying demand that other people look after them and care for them and nurture them. That's why their passing is dragged out generally, so that other people actually engage that addictive demand. Do you follow me? So these are all challenging things that when we talk about the cancer as an illness, a lot of people with cancer will find very, very challenging to accept. But at the end of the day, they are the real emotions that cause the disease. Yeah. God's laws are operating perfectly in your case. This is something you need to come to appreciate. The perfect operation of God's laws can cause disease when we are attempting to suppress the underlying emotion. Now, God's law is saying don't suppress underlying emotion. That's God's law. You follow? And when we suppress underlying emotion, we are already against God's law. That's what we're attempting to do. We're attempting to be in disharmony with God's laws. And in the end, that's what causes all disease, disharmony with God's laws. You follow?
Yeah.
So God's laws are working perfectly. You need to see that. Even though you have the disease that could potentially cause you to pass, you need to see that God's laws are operating perfectly in order to show to you the extent of this particular problem that you have, which is this angry-based demand upon women in particular, and also all people generally, to make your sadness go away. So what I could feel from you when you first had the contact was this feeling of, I've got to do it because you're concerned about your life. And no, I don't have to do it because I'm not concerned about your life. You will continue living. It just won't be here if you don't deal with this situation. The physical body won't handle it, but you'll still be alive.
Yeah.
You'll still be conscious of what you do. You'll still have the same thoughts you currently have. You still have the same feelings you currently have. You'll still be the same person. You just won't be on earth if you don't deal with it. Do you follow? Yeah. And so my consideration becomes more along the lines of, will that person listen to what's being said to them and want to practice it rather than just listen and then get upset with what I'm saying to them because it really is confronting sometimes. You follow?
Yeah.
And I feel once you let go of that angry demand that you had towards me, now I could feel more open towards, even talking about the situation with you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So good on you.
Thank you.
That's the kind of anger you're going to have to feel with women. The angry demand that you have towards them, that they do these things for you. Is there any other question you want to ask before we finish, Andrew? You're right with all that? Or?
I feel good with
Yeah. Now, if together, yourself and your wife get together and you feel there's a whole heap of things you would have probably liked to have asked about the subject, then at another point in the future we can have a second discussion if you wish and answer those particular questions. So sometimes in the situation things don't come to your mind and so forth. So if you do that, write them all down and we'll have another discussion about those particular things if you like.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that.
Yeah.
You know, with my wife, we've just got a 12-month-old baby and there's a whole lot of things going on in there.
Sure. Yeah, but I'm more talking about this situation with the cancer itself. So what I'm saying to you is that you probably, there's things in today's discussion that might bring up further questions.
Yeah.
Or there's things that, your wife would have liked you to ask but you haven't asked. Or there's things that you might like to have asked that you haven't asked. And I'd be happy to have another session with you to answer those particular questions.
Oh, I thank you.
That makes sense?
Because I'd like to be a model of
Why?
Well, it'd be nice to be able to get to the cause and...
Yeah, but I don't feel you need to do it for the sake of being a model. To me, that's not a good enough motivation to deal with these issues. You follow?
Yeah.
I feel the real motivation needs to be: do you really want to deal with the issue or not? That's all that really matters.
Right.
And being a model or not being a model doesn't matter to me.
Right.
Or to God for that matter. Right. Well, all that matters is that you either decide or don't decide. What is your decision, your will, how you're going to exercise it. That's really all that matters. Yeah, and in fact, being a model is a part of your addiction.
Exactly. I just you pick up on everything. Yeah. That's what my mother wanted me to be, a model.
Exactly.
A model child.
Exactly. And you don't need to be that here, and you certainly don't need to be that with God.
Getting to myself, who I am.
Correct. God wants you to be you. God doesn't want you to be a model. God wants you to become who you have the potential to become, the person the real self that God created you to be. That's all God wants, nothing else. That's what God's trying to lead you towards. He doesn't care about the impression it gives to other people, good or bad.
Yeah.
He's just interested in you being you. Now, there are some people it might impress, and there's other people that might feel quite angry about you being you because of how it triggers them in some way. But God's not interested in either of those things. All God's interested in you being you so that God can give you more of God's love. Because God, while you're in a facade and while you're doing damaging things to other people and yourself, God can't give you that love, right? So that's all God's interested in. Yeah, so have a look at the model thing, because that's one of the addictions you have.
Right.
Wanting to be seen as one rather than be one.
Yeah.
You see the difference?
The facade.
And to be one, you wouldn't actually have a longing to be seen as one.
No.
You follow? You don't. When you are a model, really, you don't have a longing to be one.
True.
You are automatically one because you're just doing what is right. That's all. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no worries, mate.
Okay.
Well, thanks for your time, my friend. Yeah,
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll see how you go with that, I suppose, won't we, over the coming months. Like I said, it's going to be quite difficult because you've got a pretty heavy projection outwards. It's a heavy enough condition to kill you. So, it's going to, and you've had a lot of years of denial. So, and when I say a lot of years of denial, a lot of years to desiring to deny the underlying grief. And it's going to be hard for you to stop doing that. So, it's going to be a difficult process, but you need to understand that you can do it. It's possible to do it. Not many people do it on earth. They usually either have the cancer removed, if it's possible, or they pass. Very few people address the causes. Yeah. So.
Well, I think I've got the right feel to have a look at it.
I think so. So it's just see how it goes. And like I said, I'm happy to answer any more questions if you have them.
Thank you.
Now, I'm just going to address the people at home. So those who have been listening to us today, what myself and Mary are going to do, we're having these sessions now, these what we call personal truth sessions that I've just had with Andrew. And we'll be having personal truth sessions with people who we feel have a desire to discuss the issue. But also we're also be going through some presentations soon about dealing with personal health issues and the emotional and love-based relationship between the personal health issue and love with God and love of self and love of neighbour, which are the primary causes of all our health issues. So we'll be going through those things in the coming months, so hopefully you enjoy those particular presentations. But thank you, Andrew, for your time.
Thank you.
And we look forward to seeing what happens.
Yeah.
Whatever happens, we look forward to seeing what happens.
Thank you, Jesus.
No worries, my pleasure. Thanks, guys.